The ultimatum. Captain Elena Reyes stood at the viewport of the UES Concordia, watching the magnificent spiral structure of the Galactic Union headquarters slowly rotate against the backdrop of a vibrant nebula. The diplomatic vessel had been her home for the past 8 months during the increasingly frustrating negotiations with the 11 most powerful species in this sector of the galaxy. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Commander Seto remarked, joining her at the viewport. "Hard to believe something so elegant could house such stubborn minds." Elena nodded, her dark eyes never leaving the station. 17 rounds of negotiations, Hiroshi. 17. And we're further from an agreement than when we started. The latest intelligence report just came in, Sato said, handing her a datapad. The Valkyrie are pushing the other species to take a harder line. They've convinced 6 of the 11 to back their revised proposal. Elena scrolled through the report, her expression hardening with each swipe. Revised. This isn't a revision. It's an ultimatum. She handed the datapad back to Sato. They want unrestricted access to our system, mining rights to 70% of our asteroid belt, and human ships to be under Galactic Union supervision during any interstellar travel. They're calling it protection, Sato said with a grimace. They can call it whatever they want. It's subjugation. Elena turned away from the viewport. Prepare the team. Full briefing in 30 minutes before we dock. And Hiroshi, make sure Protocol Chimera is ready. Sato's eyes widened slightly. Are you sure, Captain? Once initiated. I'm not initiating anything yet. Elena cut him off. But after reading this, I want to be prepared for all outcomes. As Sato left, Elena returned her gaze to the station. Humanity had discovered faster-than-light travel just 15 years ago, and their first contact with the Galactic Union had been promising. Cultural exchanges, limited trade agreements, and scientific cooperation had all proceeded smoothly. But as humans expanded their modest colony network to 3 systems, the Union's attitude had shifted from welcomingly paternalistic to increasingly controlling. The Valkyrie, a species with crystalline exoskeletons and a rigid case system, had been particularly vocal about guiding the development of humanity. Their envoy, High Commander Razix, made no effort to hide his disdain for humans and their chaotic, undisciplined expansion. 3 hours later, Elena sat at the large circular table in the Union's Grand Assembly Chamber. Representatives from all 11 major species faced the human delegation. The chamber was a marvel of architecture, with a transparent dome revealing the stars above and walls lined with living plants from hundreds of worlds. It should have felt welcoming. It didn't. High Commander Razix, his crystalline form refracting light in dazzling patterns, stood to address the assembly. Honored representatives, we have gathered today to finalize the terms of humanity's formal integration into the Galactic Union. After careful consideration of their needs and capabilities, we have drafted terms that will ensure their protection and guidance. Elena watched as the translation matrix embedded in her ear rendered his clicks and whistles into English. She noted how he spoke about humans in the third person, despite their presence in the room. A deliberate slight. The terms are simple, Razix continued. In exchange for Union protection and technological assistance, Earth will grant access to its solar system for resource harvesting, with 70% of resources allocated to Union development programs. Human vessels will remain under Union oversight for a period of no less than 50 standard cycles, and 3 monitoring stations will be established in Earth orbit to facilitate this arrangement. Elena felt her blood pressure rising, but kept her face carefully neutral. She had expected this, but hearing it stated so bluntly still stung. The Lorani representative, Ambassador Telka, a being resembling an elegant blue octopus, raised a tentacle. Has the human delegation had time to review these terms? They have received the proposal, Razix replied dismissively. Their understanding of interstellar politics is limited, but the benefits should be obvious even to them. Elena rose slowly from her seat, feeling the eyes of every alien representative upon her. The human delegation has indeed reviewed your proposal, High Commander Razix. We find it unacceptable." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. "Perhaps you misunderstand the generosity being offered," Razik said, his crystalline face incapable of showing expression, but his tone dripping with condescension. "Your species is young, barely able to maintain 3 small colonies. Without Union protection, you would be vulnerable to raiders, resource poachers, or worse. And yet humanity has managed to repel 3 separate pirate incursions in the past year alone," Alina replied evenly. "Without Union assistance. Minor skirmishes." Razik waved a crystalline limb dismissively. "You have not faced true threats." "Perhaps not," Alina conceded. "But neither have we seen true partnership from the Union. For 8 months, we have offered compromise after compromise. We've shared medical advances, opened our colonies to Union observers, and demonstrated goodwill at every turn." She paused, looking around the chamber. "In return, your demands have only grown more excessive, and your respect for us has diminished." Ambassador Telka's skin rippled with concern. "Captain Rice, surely we can find middle ground. The Lorani would be willing to." "There is no need for special accommodation," Razik interrupted. "The terms are standard for a species at humanity's development stage. All of us accepted similar arrangements when we joined the Union." "Did you?" Alina asked, her voice quiet but clear. "Because our research indicates that the Valkyrie entered the Union as conquerors, not supplicants, and the Lorani were already an established spacefaring civilization for 2,000 years before Union formation." Razik's crystalline structure vibrated in what the humans had learned to recognize as anger. "Your research is irrelevant. The Union speaks with one voice on this matter. Then the Union should listen carefully to what I say next." Alina straightened to her full height. "Humanity formally rejects these terms and withdraws from all negotiations with the Galactic Union, effective immediately." The chamber erupted in shocked exclamations. Several translation matrices struggled to keep up with the multiple overlapping conversations. Razik struck the central podium with a crystalline appendage, creating a resonating chime that silenced the room. "You cannot be serious. No species has ever rejected Union membership. The consequences would be severe." "We understand the consequences, High Commander." Alina gestured to her team, who began gathering their materials. "Earth has existed without the Union's protection for thousands of years. We will continue to do so." "This is foolishness." Razik's voice rose, his crystalline body reflecting light in sharp, aggressive patterns. "You would isolate yourselves from the greatest alliance of civilizations in the galaxy because of pride." "Not pride," Alina corrected him. "Self-determination. Humanity will chart its own course among the stars. We came seeking friends and equals. We found neither." As the human delegation prepared to leave, Ambassador Telka moved quickly to intercept them. "Captain Rice, please reconsider. Not all species share the Valkyrie perspective. Given time, we could revise." "We've given you 8 months, Ambassador," Alina replied, her voice softening slightly. "But thank you for your concern. The Lorani have always been fair in our dealings. Perhaps one day we'll speak again, under different circumstances." As they walked toward the exit, Commander Seto moved close to Alina. "They'll see this as weakness," he whispered. "Let them," Alina replied, keeping her face neutral as they passed rows of stunned alien diplomats. Only when they boarded the Concordia did Alina allow herself a grim smile. She entered the ship's secure command center and activated the quantum-encrypted communication system. "UES Concordia to Earth Command," she spoke clearly. "Negotiations have failed as anticipated. Request immediate authorization for Protocol Chimera." There was a brief pause before Earth Command responded. "Authorization granted, Captain Rice. All deep space beacons are being recalled. Defense grid is transitioning to active status. You have 48 hours to clear Union space." "Understood." Elena turned to her crew. "Set course for home, maximum speed, and shut down all non-essential communication. From now on, we maintain silent running." As the Concordia pulled away from the Galactic Union station, the representatives of 11 species remained in shocked discussion. Most saw humanity's withdrawal as a tantrum that would soon be regretted. None of them noticed that in the hours following the human departure, every human merchant ship, scientific vessel, and diplomatic mission throughout Union space had quietly disappeared. Razix stood in the center of the chamber, already planning how to bring the humans back into line. They'll return within a standard month, begging for raid mission, he declared confidently. And when they do, our terms will be significantly less generous. Ambassador Telka wasn't so certain. As an observer of many species over her long life, she had learned to recognize patterns, and something about the calm, prepared way the humans had departed troubled her deeply. It didn't feel like a retreat. It felt like strategic withdrawal. "I hope you are right, High Commander," she said quietly, her tentacles rippling with unease. "For all our sakes." The revelation. 3 weeks passed with no communication from Earth or its colonies. The Galactic Union's Chamber of Commerce reported that all human trading posts had been shuttered, all joint scientific projects abandoned, and all diplomatic outposts vacated with remarkable efficiency. In the Grand Assembly Chamber, High Commander Razix addressed the Union representatives. "The human silence continues, but our intelligence suggests they are simply licking their wounds." Their pride was wounded by the reality of their position in the galactic order. The Cherax representative, a being resembling a feathered serpent, raised its colorful head. "Is it not concerning that they managed to extract all their people and assets from Union space in less than 48 hours? That suggests considerable coordination and planning." "It suggests fear," Razix countered dismissively. "They fled like prey before a predator. Now, I propose we send a delegation to their home system to offer them a path back to negotiations, under revised terms, of course." "What kind of delegation?" Ambassador Telka asked, her skin darkening with suspicion. "A diplomatic one," Razix replied smoothly, "escorted by a protection fleet, merely to ensure our envoy's safety in unregulated space." The Loreni ambassador's tentacles coiled tightly. "How large a protection fleet do you envision, High Commander?" 30 vessels should suffice, mostly Valkyrie ships, as we have the most experience with primitive species. Razix's crystalline body gleamed under the chamber lights. Simply a show of friendship. Despite objections from the Lorani and 2 other species, the motion passed. The Union would send a diplomatic mission to Earth, backed by military might. As the session concluded, Ambassador Telka approached the ancient Guverian representative, Elder Mox. "This is a mistake," she said quietly. "I studied human history. They're young as a spacefaring species, yes, but they've survived thousands of years of internal warfare. They understand conflict in ways we don't." Elder Mox, his gray, wrinkled skin hanging in loose folds around his 3 eyes, nodded slowly. "I share your concern, Ambassador. The Valkyries see only the humans' limited territory and modest fleet. They don't see what I see." "And what is that, Elder?" "A species that prepared for their exit too perfectly." His ancient voice rasped with concern. "No one withdraws with such precision without planning for what comes next." Meanwhile, in Earth's solar system, humanity was far from licking its wounds. In underground facilities on Mars, engineer Priya Sharma worked with a team of thousands to activate defensive systems that had been hidden from Union observers for years. Phase 3 of Protocol Chimera complete, she reported to the Central Command on Earth. All stealth satellites are operational and in position. On the view screen, Admiral Jackson nodded. "Good work, Dr. Sharma. The Union fleet has just passed Neptune's orbit. They'll be within Jupiter's orbital path in 6 hours. Will they detect the defense grid?" Priya asked. "Not until we want them to," the Admiral replied with a grim smile. "Continue preparations and maintain communication blackout to all external channels." Throughout the solar system, a carefully orchestrated defensive posture took shape. Civilian ships retreated to designated safe zones behind Earth's moon and Mars. Military vessels powered down to minimal systems, appearing dormant to long-range scans while maintaining combat readiness. Most importantly, hundreds of stealth satellites, technology humans had deliberately kept hidden from the Union, formed an invisible web throughout the solar system, each equipped with weapons far more advanced than anything humanity had ever shown to their galactic neighbors. Captain Alina Reyes stood on the bridge of the UES Concordia, now positioned in Earth orbit alongside Earth's modest official defense fleet of 40 vessels. Union fleet approaching Jupiter, Captain, her tactical officer reported. 32 ships, mostly Valkyrie design. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, demanding we respond. Let them talk, Alina replied. Maintain silent running until they reach the asteroid belt perimeter. 6 hours later, the Union fleet passed the designated threshold. A massive Valkyrie dreadnought led the formation, its crystalline hull gleaming in the distant sunlight. They're broadcasting again, the communications officer reported. High Commander Razix demands immediate audience with Earth's leadership. He says they've come to discuss our return to the galactic community under appropriate supervision. Alina exchanged glances with Admiral Jackson, whose hologram hovered beside her command chair. He nodded once. Open a channel, Alina ordered. Visual and audio. The main view screen flickered to life, showing High Commander Razix on the bridge of his vessel. His crystalline form sparkled with what humans had learned to recognize as smug confidence. Ah, Captain Reyes, Razix's translated voice filled the bridge. I wondered when you would find the courage to respond. I trust these weeks of isolation have helped humanity reconsider its hasty decision. On the contrary, High Commander, Alina replied calmly. They've reinforced our conviction that the Union does not respect our sovereignty. Your armed fleet in our home system only confirms this. This is merely a protective escort. Razix dismissed her concern. The galaxy is dangerous for isolated species. We've come to offer you a final opportunity to accept Union protection, under slightly modified terms. We're not interested in your terms, modified or otherwise, Alina stated flatly. You are in sovereign human space without permission. Please withdraw immediately. Razix's crystalline structure vibrated with what might have been laughter. Or what, Captain? Your sensor data is as primitive as the rest of your technology. You see our 30 ships. What will you do against such force with your, 40 outdated vessels? Alina smiled slightly. I think there's been a misunderstanding, High Commander. A failure of intelligence, you might say. The only failure, Razix replied, was humanity's failure to understand its place in the galactic order. Now, I will speak with your planetary leaders to arrange your surrender. I mean your return to negotiations. That won't be necessary, Alina said. She nodded to her tactical officer. Activate Protocol Chemra. Full spectrum. Throughout the solar system, hundreds of previously invisible satellites suddenly powered up. On every Union ship's sensors, what had appeared as empty space transformed into a dense defensive grid surrounding them completely. What is this? Razix demanded, his confidence visibly shaken. This, Alina explained calmly, is humanity's actual defense capability. The 40 ships you see are indeed our diplomatic and trade fleet. They're not our military. As if on cue, 300 warships emerged from hiding positions behind moons, within asteroid clusters, and from the dark side of planets. Each was larger and more heavily armed than anything humanity had ever shown to Union observers. Impossible, Razix sputtered. Our intelligence was exactly what we wanted you to see, Alina finished for him. Humanity learned long ago to hide its strengths. For thousands of years, we fought amongst ourselves, developing the art of deception alongside the art of war. On the view screen, Admiral Jackson appeared beside Alina. High Commander Razix, I am Admiral Marcus Jackson of Earth Defense Command. Your fleet is currently targeted by over 500 weapons platforms. You have violated sovereign human space after explicit diplomatic withdrawal. Under galactic law, we would be justified in considering this an act of war. Ambassador Telka pushed into view beside the stunned Razix. Admiral, Captain, please. This escalation serves no one. The full Union Council did not authorize military action. We are aware. Ambassador Telka, Elena acknowledge. Our intelligence network within the Union is considerably more effective than you realized. We know this diplomatic mission was primarily a Valkyrie initiative, supported by only 6 of the 11 major species. Razix's crystalline form had lost much of its luster. This deception changes nothing. The Union still commands the resources of 11 advanced civilizations. You cannot stand alone. We don't intend to stand alone forever, Admiral Jackson replied. But we will stand as equals, not subjects. Now, you have a choice. Withdraw your fleet immediately, or we will demonstrate exactly why humanity survived its violent history to reach the stars. For several tense moments, the Valkyrie commander stood frozen in indecision. Finally, Ambassador Telka spoke. We will withdraw, Admiral. And I give you my word that the full council will review this incident and humanity's status without Valkyrie oversight. As the Union fleet slowly turned and began retreating from the solar system, Elena turned to Admiral Jackson. Do you think they've learned their lesson? Some have, Jackson replied, watching the departing vessels on the tactical display. Ambassador Telka certainly has. But the Valkyrie and their allies, they've learned we're stronger than they thought, but that might just make them more determined to control us. Then we'll be ready, Elena said firmly. And next time we meet the Union, it will be on our terms, not theirs. 3 months later, a single Lorani vessel approached Earth under a flag of truce. Ambassador Telka had come alone, authorized by a newly formed council subcommittee to open genuine dialogue with humanity, as equals. As Elena welcomed her aboard the orbital diplomatic station, the Lorani ambassador's skin rippled with what humans had learned to recognize as respect. Captain Reyes, Telka began, I must confess that many in the Union are still processing the revelation of Earth's true capabilities. High Commander Razix has been reassigned. I'm sorry to hear that, Elena replied diplomatically, though she wasn't sorry at all. The Union Council has authorized me to extend an invitation, Telka continued. Not to join the Union, not yet, but to establish a mutual embassy and begin discussions about a potential alliance, one based on respect, not paternalism. Elena studied the Lorani carefully. And the terms? Access to our system. Supervision of our ships. No terms, Telka replied simply. Just dialogue. As equals. Elena smiled, extending her hand in the human gesture of agreement that the Lorani had studied, a tentacle wrapped gently around it. In that case, Ambassador, Elena said, we have a lot to talk about. Behind them, through the station's viewport, Earth shone brilliantly against the backdrop of stars. No longer isolated, no longer underestimated, and ready to claim its rightful place in the galaxy.